Hello, this is State Representative Brad Stevens. I want to welcome you to my special COVID-19 live TeleTownHall meeting. This morning, we're coming to you from the Legislative Office to discuss the latest news surrounding COVID-19 virus and to answer questions you may have about the impacts on our economy and jobs in our community. I'm pleased to be joined by actually 3 local subject matter experts today who will be joining our call in about 5 minutes. They're practicing social distancing and will be joining us remotely by telephone. They'll be Robb Karr, a good friend from the Illinois Retail Merchants Association. He's the president of the association. And John Ferry and Eric Conjus, experts with the Illinois Department of Employment Security. I greatly appreciate that they're taking time out of their extraordinary busy schedules during this pandemic. During this call, we'll be sharing some very important information, and if after the call you have any questions about this information, please contact my office. My office email is Stevens, S-T-E-P-H-E-N-S, at ilhousegop.org, and the phone number is 773-444-0611. I also encourage you to sign up for email updates from my website by going to repstevens.com. That's repstevens, S-T-E-P-H-E-N-S.com. Additionally, our website, repstevens.com, has a COVID-19 resource link that provides information on the virus, how to limit the spread, and where to go if you and your family is in need during this time. I'll be sharing that information again shortly. I encourage you to get a pen and paper if you want to write that down. COVID-19, or the coronavirus, is getting more serious by the day. The latest figures show that we have over 5,000 cases in Illinois. Over 450 new cases were just announced yesterday. We're going to be taking your questions in about 10 minutes. If you have a question that you would like to ask me or one of the experts, please press *3 and you will be put in the queue to ask a question. Now, for those of you just joining us, this is State Representative Brad Stevens, and I want to welcome you to a special COVID-19 TeleTownHall meeting. This morning, we're coming to you from the Legislative Office, and we're going to discuss the COVID-19 virus and the impacts on our economy. We're going to be joined by 3 subject matter experts, 1 from the Illinois Retail Merchants Association and 2 from the Department of Employment Security. I cannot thank them enough for taking their time out of their extraordinary busy schedule during this pandemic. During this call, we'll be sharing some very important information, and you have any questions after the fact, you can contact my office by email at Stevens, S-T-E-P-H-E-N-S, at ilhousegop.org, or the phone number is 773-444-0611. I also encourage you to sign up for emails at repstevens.com. Again, that's repstevens. Stevens is spelled S-T-E-P-H-E-N-S. COVID-19, or the coronavirus, is getting more serious every day. The latest figures show we have over 5,000 cases in Illinois, and 450 more were announced yesterday. The governor is expecting more cases to be announced on a daily basis. Yesterday, the governor has indicated, as many modeling experts, that we have not hit the apex. We're going to be taking questions after the call, or during the call, I should say. If you have a question that you would like to ask me or one of the experts, press *3 and you'll be put in queue to ask the questions. On Saturday, March 21st, or 10 days ago, Governor Pritzker put in a stay-at-home order. The goal of this order is to promote social distancing. Nobody likes that this has to be done, but I do believe it's necessary to flatten the curve. At this point, I think most of us are starting to feel a bit restless inside our homes. Unfortunately, the federal government has issued guidelines over the weekend that recommends social distancing for the entire month of April. I think it's very likely a possibility that the governor extends this stay-at-home order as well. Nearly 3.28 million Americans have applied for unemployment benefits in the last week. This shattered the previous weekly record from 1982. In Illinois, so far, March unemployment claims have totaled 133,763 in comparison to just over 27,000 that applied for benefits during the same period in 2019. We have two experts from the Illinois Department of Employment Security who will be discussing all the measures that they have taken in order to accommodate the additional unemployment insurance claims. These are unprecedented times for unemployment insurance, and they are working overtime at the department to get people the benefits they need to get by. Additionally, the federal government has delayed tax returns until July 15th. This is both for payment and filing of your tax return. Illinois has followed suit, and you will not have to file until July 15th as well. Our subject matters are on the line. Our subject matter experts are on the line and ready to join us. Remember, if you'd like to ask them a question, press *3. After I introduce them, we will be opening the line for your questions. We'll be getting to your questions in about 5 minutes. Robb Karr is the president of the Illinois Retail Merchants Association. Thank you, Robb. You're a good friend. Thanks for joining us today. Can you tell us about the status of the retail supply chain?
Sure, and thank you, Representative Stevens. We appreciate, I appreciate your personal friendship. We appreciate your leadership through this crisis. The supply chain is in great shape. IRMA worked with leaders from the beginning of this pandemic to take out regulatory burdens that ordinarily none of us would notice, but we removed those to increase the capacity of the supply chain. There's no shortage of anything. Manufacturers are increasing their production. It's really just a question now of people returning to their normal shopping patterns. And we're starting to see signs that is indeed happening. So no one needs to worry about a shortage of food, toilet paper, or medicines, or anything they might need on a daily basis.
Thanks, Robb. Over the weekend, the governor put in some additional safeguards for retail establishments. Can you address those?
Yes, and we were, most of our retailers were developing these on their own. They're continuing as we speak to experiment with different ways to help consumers keep their social distance while still ensuring the flow of people through a grocery store in particular. Not every approach works for every grocery store. And I think it's important to note that the governor adopted our guidances that IRMA had previously put out, and the Department of Public Health has also now put out those guidances. They're guidances. They're encouraging retailers to adopt as many of these as they can. They include enhanced cleaning procedures. Consumers have noticed probably that grocery stores in particular and pharmacies have altered their hours. For example, they may have been open until midnight. Now they're only open until 8 o'clock at night. They may have opened at 6 in the morning. Now they open at 8 in the morning. That allows them to not only restock the store, but also to do deeper cleans. They're also cleaning between customers. They're trying to encourage customers to keep social distance apart from each other, not just at the checkout, but as they're working their way through the store. There's public announcements that they're trying to do throughout the day to remind consumers to keep social distance from each other. Some grocery stores are experimenting with one-way aisle flows so that people are all going down an aisle in a particular pattern. So there's a lot of different procedures that are being put in place. Many have put in place plexiglass shields between the retail clerk and the consumer because, as everyone remembers, it's awful hard to get a 6-foot distance in a checkout, but that plexiglass shield helps protect both the customer and the retail worker from any incidental contact, and they're also experimenting with enhanced touchless pay procedures. Now, we can't go 100% to touchless pay procedures because some people only have access to cash, but in those instances where they're able to and willing to use credit or debit, we're experimenting with different touchless payment approaches. So all of these things are being done in an effort to protect both the consumer, particularly the consumer, but also the retail workers. And I would note, we really need to appreciate the fact that retailers, particularly grocers and pharmacies, are doing all of this while they're trying to meet the increased demand, retrain people around these new procedures while they're trying to meet the increased demand. So at least IRMA in particular appreciates the tremendous work and experimentation that grocers and pharmacies and others are undertaking to try to protect people.
Thanks, Rob. A question I had, Rob, before we move on to our folks from IDES, are there any resources, any websites or whatnot where folks that may be looking for employment, some of your members may be looking to hire some folks?
Yeah, great question. Of course, the IDES has a website that they can talk about, but IRMA has also put on their website a resource. We grocers, distribution centers, pharmacies in particular are looking to hire, and we have put on our website, which is www.irma.org. That's www.irma.org. And you go to our COVID-19 resource page, and there will be on the right-hand side a list of members who have sent us information. And all people have to do is click on the link and make their application there if they're interested in applying for a job in that sector.
Thanks, Rob. Also with us is John Ferry and Eric Conges from the Illinois Department of Employment Security. I want to thank them again for being with us. Gentlemen, can you talk about the unemployment claims, the amount of unemployment claims, and what's being done to sort of streamline that process?
Representative Stevens, thanks for your introduction and the opportunity to talk with your constituents. So this is a quickly evolving situation for us, and we are receiving more claims than we've ever seen in recent history. So we're working as quickly and efficiently as possible. We're redirecting people from less essential job tasks to claims taking, as well as pouring resources into the development of new benefits and resources as they become available to us from the federal government.
Okay, thank you. There were changes to the unemployment insurance benefits in the federal package. Can you address those and how they apply to a worker in Illinois?
So currently, one of our biggest priorities is we're working on implementing the $600 federal pandemic unemployment compensation, which would be a $600 additional revenue on each week of unemployment claimed. We are working on implementing that. Our computer system is, I guess the best way to say it is we are working on making it compatible with our computer system at this time. The benefit package for self-employed contract workers and stuff like that, we're still developing that program and getting it ready to roll out to the public.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else that either of you would like to touch on before we open up to questions?
I would just like to say that if anybody has been laid off, the best way to get your claim in is through our website, www.ides.illinois.gov. And if you have any questions, they should be directed to our Claimant Service Center, which is a 1-800 number, 1-800-244-5631. If you have any troubles reaching us, understand that our system has been stretched to its capacity, so phone lines are dropping calls and stuff like that. We've poured all of the resources that we possibly can into it, but if you're unable to get through, the best way to get us is to wait for off-peak hours. We're doing everything we can to improve the system on a daily basis, but right now we're stretched as thin as we can go.
Understood. Like I'm sure everybody, and I appreciate that. Now we're going to be opening this call up for questions. Again, if you have a question, press *3 at any time. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can on the call, and after that, you can also leave a message or email my office, and we'll give you that information at the end of the call again. So, David Kubik on the line here. We'll start with the questions.
If we don't get to your question, we'll automatically be prompted to leave a voicemail. So all you have to do is after the call, leave a voicemail. Our first question is from Savo in Chicago, who has a question about unemployment benefits. Savo, you're on the line.
Thank you. Good morning. My question is this: I was laid off around June, July of last year, and I'm not able to currently find any employment. And I was wondering if there has been any kind of extension of this unemployment that I can apply for, because in a sense that my original unemployment has basically gone now. I was wondering, and if not, if there's anything else I can do to either find employment or where I can get some kind of help. I'm a senior citizen. I'm well into my 60s, and right now I'm tapping into my savings and my 401k, and my funds are getting rather low since I also am currently paying mortgage payments and other bills just like everyone else.
So the CARE Act that passed on Friday did have the availability of more weeks of unemployment being added to those who had already exhausted. We're currently working on that, getting that programmed into our system. It will be automatic, so the best I can tell you is to keep checking back. Our programmers are working as quickly as possible, but we've thrown three different federal programs at them that we're having to build from the ground up. So we are working as quickly as possible, but there will be benefits available, and it'll be seamless. You'll automatically, if you have an eligible claim right now, which since your claim was in June, you do have a current eligible claim, they will be added to you. Does that answer the question?
I think so. He dropped off the line. Our next question is from Kim, who has a question about grocery stores and PPE. Kim, you're on the line.
Hi, thank you for letting me talk. Mine is a multi-part question that I've got, and it's regarding, I'm in my 60s. I live with my mother who's in her mid-80s, and I'm concerned about transmitting anything to her, especially with her age. I'm even a little concerned about my age. But when I go into grocery stores, like the Jewel or something like that, if I wear a face mask and I wear the rubber gloves, I go around, I do my shopping, I come back out. Should I be taking the mask and gloves off when I get into my car, or do I wait until I get home until I put all the groceries away to take it off? I don't want to transfer anything. Then the second part of the question is, once I take the stuff off the rubber gloves and the mask, do you throw them into the garbage, contaminate the garbage system then for future purposes? Or if I leave them sit there, in the garage or something like that, or away from everything for a week or so, can they be reused?
I would think that, and this is Representative Stevens, I would think that the best way to get those answers is view the CDC website, and that those answers will be there.
I tried looking, I didn't see anything.
You didn't?
Yes.
Well,
that's why I'm asking the questions here.
We'll take your number, and we'll have to give you a shout back. And we'll try to follow up on that.
Because I know a lot of this is unknown, and people don't know what's going on and what the longevity is of it, and that. And I'm also concerned about, people are, you don't have a lot of big supply of them, so people want to reuse this stuff if at all possible. If they don't have extra stuff to wear. But then, are you contaminating the whole garbage system by throwing them in the garbage when you throw them out? Do you follow where I'm coming from?
Absolutely.
Because we don't know enough about this virus.
And I think that's the biggest concern, and that's why we're setting up these calls, is to try to get people answers where they're not getting the ones that they want to hear. So we'll take your number, and we will do some research and get back to you, Kim.
I'd appreciate it very much, because I'm very concerned, like everybody else around here too. And I think this is something that somebody should start addressing as to what's going on, what's the proper procedures to do this stuff. Once you figure it out yourselves.
Understand. Thank you for your call.
Okay. We've got one more from Al in Des Plaines, and Al's question about unemployment.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. Yourself?
I have a question. I'm currently on suspension on my unemployment benefits due to a screw-up on my part. However, during this pandemic, I was wondering if any part of it can be reinstated.
Eric, do you want to field that question?
Sure. So if you're currently on an unemployment claim and you've certified for benefits and run into a problem, certainly reach out to our Claimant Services Center at the number that John gave before, 800-244-5631, and we can get that straightened out for you. But just rest assured that we've put in a few fail-safes behind the scenes so that, we're not just relying on the public notifying us of potential problems with a claim where they should otherwise be eligible. So we have reports and systems in place to try to catch some of these behind the scenes. But if you do not automatically get reinstated to benefits, feel free to call that number, and one of our staff will be more than happy to assist you.
Thank you.
Does that
we
answer
have
your question?
another question. Yeah, can you actually repeat that the phone number and where to find it, just in case?
Sure. So the phone number is 1-800-244-5631. Again, 800-244-5631. And that number can actually be found on any claimant who's received a document from us in the mail. We'll also see that claimant services number on the top left-hand corner of any of those documents. So you can find it there as well.
Thank you. We have another question that was actually submitted from Mary Joy online. And her question is, what are the off-peak hours at IDES? So what are the best times to call where there's the lowest traffic?
So I believe during this, our phone lines are opening up at 7:30, and I believe the queue starts building before that, very early, and then later on in the evening. Eric, are you aware of how late they're taking calls there now?
I believe it's to 6 p.m.
So during the midday is when people are having a lot of trouble getting in. So if you call early or call late, you have a better chance of being added to the queue and actually getting through to someone.
Okay, thank you. We've got another call from Lee in Des Plaines, and Lee works at a school district. Lee, you're on the line.
Hi.
Oh, looks like Lee dropped off. We got another call from Becky in Chicago, who has a question about relief for homeowners and landlords. Becky, you are on the line.
Hi, thank you. My question is actually on behalf of my mom, who's a senior citizen in Chicago. And in addition to her home where she lives, she owns a 2-flat. And as a landlord, one of her apartments is already vacant. So she's concerned that, if the existing tenants have problems paying their bills or anything, if there's any type of relief or help for landlords, because she still, of course, will have to pay all her bills, and she's a senior on a fixed income.
So through IDES, there wouldn't be any benefits available for that particular situation. If it is considered self-employment, that would be one that you'd have to talk and call with the Claimant Service Center, where we can actually look at her individual information we have in the system. But there may be other federal programs out there available for situations like this that I don't know about.
If you'd like to leave a message after our call, we can direct you to some services, I believe. We have another call from Tony in Schiller Park. Tony,
Hello, Brad. Hello, Brad. Thank you for this town hall call. My question is this. I have my parents' home that unfortunately is in the city of Chicago. It's kind of fell in the rear of some back taxes. The house is currently on the market to be sold. She received a notice for it to go to public auction. My question is there a way that they can delay the auction until this Corona-19 pandemic kind of blows over? Because the problem that the realtors are having, the demand for housing is out there. It's the closing with the banks. The banks now are very nervous on giving out loans due to the fact the people they're lending money to, are they going to have a job? So I'm just trying to find a resource possibly that can we delay these house sales until this kind of blows over and the market can kind of start moving again. Houses are being looked upon and being sold, just that right now the banks are in control. Excuse me. And the big problem is everything's being delayed due to closings being held off.
Understand, Tony, the foreclosures and the tax sales and things like that have been delayed, and there's information on the website as well, on our website, that discusses all of that. So again, thank you for your question.
We have Stephanie on the line from Chicago, and she has a question about unemployment claims.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you so much for doing this today. It's very helpful. This question is for the IDES folks. You had mentioned that the self-employment and contractors programming is still in development. How do we, should we be placing a claim in the current system right now, or just holding off and waiting until something is fully developed, and then how will we know once that happens? So sort of what's the process for self-employed or contractors at this point?
Okay, so in order to qualify for that program, it's similar to a program that's in existence called disaster unemployment. This is pandemic unemployment. In order to be eligible for that program, you have to not be eligible to receive regular UI. So it would not hurt to go ahead and put in a UI claim, have the denial come back, so that step is out of the way and might expedite your ability to file the claim for PUA. Does that answer the question?
I think so.
Can you explain what PUA is? I understand that you guys are dealing with it. Okay.
It's Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. It's part of the CARE Act that passed, and that is the specific benefits for self-employed contract workers, stuff like that don't normally qualify for unemployment.
Okay, thank you.
Adrian from Des Plaines is on the line. She has a question about unemployment.
Hi, thank you. I'm laid off. My employer told me that, not just me, everybody that got laid off, that we'd have to use our new sick time and vacation time, and that we could not apply for unemployment. Is that true?
Eric, do you want to field that?
Sure. So, first of all, an employer, no one can infringe on your right to file a claim for unemployment benefits if you believe that you should be eligible. So that's first of all. Second of all, if your employer is giving you some sort of payment, whether it be salary, wages, sick time, vacation time, whatever that might be, it's in the sole discretion of the Department of Employment Security to determine your eligibility for benefits. So if you believe that you should be eligible, our guidance is go ahead and file the claim, and we will make the determination on your eligibility. I will say that the Department of Labor has given some guidance, and we're currently working with our our Office of Legal Counsel and how to apply that to Illinois law, because, of course, the Department of Labor has to give guidance for all 53 workforce agencies. But with regard to sick leave and vacation leave, as to whether or not an individual will be eligible for both receipt of those benefits from the employer and unemployment benefits. Generally speaking, an individual who is receiving wages from their employer is not considered an unemployed individual. But each case is different, and a separate determination on your eligibility would be necessary. Does that answer your question?
Next on the line is Mary Ann from Chicago, and she has a question about PPE at grocery stores. Mary Ann, you're live.
Good morning. I'm calling because of, Jewel's grocery stores. I go into them, and I've gone into a couple of them, and I noticed that the staff there, the workers, don't have any PPE equipment. They're not wearing any masks or gloves. And I also have, a friend who has a child that is working there part-time and has been working for Jewel for quite a while now, just part-time. And, they don't have any benefits for either any sick pay or any additional pay. But if they have an elderly parent or something at home that is high risk for contracting the disease, I just wonder, is there any benefits for them if they feel that they're at risk because they don't have the PPE equipment to, put that person at risk at home? And what if they decide to leave that position? Would they qualify for any unemployment as well?
I'll take this one, John. So, if an individual reasonably suspects that, or reasonably, believes that they are at risk or in an at-risk population and decides to leave work, we again would make that determination, based off of the specifics of their their situation. So, I don't want to make any broad statements about whether or not the individual in that in the limited information that you've provided would be eligible. Again, we would make that determination on a case-by-case basis. Generally speaking, and prior to all of this, an individual who leaves work voluntarily without good cause that is attributable to the employer would not generally be eligible for unemployment, but good cause is established based on the facts of the individual situation.
Representative, it's Robb Karr. Can I address the PPE portion?
Absolutely.
Just so that all your listeners and your constituents understand, grocery stores and other retailers are having a terrible time procuring PPE. There's a tremendous shortage of PPE everywhere. And the PPE that can be acquired is being prioritized for first responders, medical personnel, doctors, nurses, others. And so that is the reason that it's not for a lack of trying. There have been some that have been able to obtain small quantities, but not nearly the quantities that would be needed. So it is not, I just want your constituents to understand, it's not for a lack of trying. There's a shortage worldwide, and it's being prioritized.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Okay. We have time just for a couple more questions. Some of them are very specific and some of them are health related. So please, if we don't get to your question, leave a voicemail and we will bring it to an expert to answer your question. But at this time, we have time for just a couple more questions. So please leave a voicemail after the end of the call, and we will get to yours if we didn't get to yours at the moment. Dolores from Des Plaines has a question about unemployment. Dolores, you're on the line.
Hi, my name is Dolores. Yes, I'm calling because I work at FedEx as a package handler, and I was told I'm in my 60s. Well, I'm 60, and I have asthma. And my mother, I live with my elderly mother who's in her 80s, and I was told that, and I was concerned about going to work, so they told me I need to take a leave of absence, unpaid leave of absence. And I was wondering if I qualify for unemployment or if I'm a part of this stimulus package also. That was my concern.
So
okay,
this is. Go ahead, Eric.
Go ahead, John.
No, that's your wheelhouse right there.
Gotcha. Okay, so we would need more information, Dolores, regarding your particular situation to make an adequate determination of your eligibility. I would suggest if you're out of work through no fault of yours, if you're out of work, period, and seek benefits, to go ahead and file the claim, and we would, obtain that information from you and the employer. We've asked, and certainly the governor, and I'm not sure which local municipality you're in, but mayors have asked employers to work with employees as much as possible within the guidelines of, the type of work that, the types of services that you're performing. So if you've worked with the employer and, they were unable to accommodate you, that would be taken into account during your eligibility assessment.
Thank you. Robert from Harwood Heights has a question about unemployment claims. Robert, you're on the line.
Thank you very much. This would be more of an employer question. Currently, I work for a local government, and we've had segments of our operations kind of shut down due to social distancing, specifically our recreation center. As a local government, we're at a pay-as-you-go unemployment claims as opposed to a percentage of contributions we make based on payroll. Is there any relief from FEMA or anyone else to kind of help offset the cost of these unemployment claims?
That is a question we'd have to get back to you on. Neither Eric or I are experts on the employer side and contributions and stuff like that. The best thing that I could say would be to contact the agency through our website and send a message on there to get to the right people to answer that type of question. We're more on.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Sounds good.
Robert,
Thank you.
we'll get back to you with a question. We'll make sure to ask the governor's office and get back to you with an answer. I've got another question here about actually schools opening. Annette from Harwood Heights, you're on the line.
Good morning. I was just wondering if Representative Stevens has any idea how long the local suburban schools will be closed. Will it fall in line with what the president said of April 30th, or will they be closed for the rest of the year?
That's a good question. I know that as a parent of young children, I wonder about that every day. Pretty much all of that is being governed at the local level, meaning at the state level, and it'll be interesting to see what Governor Pritzker does as far as expanding beyond the deadlines that he's imposed already. I would expect that at some point here soon, and again, this is just my feeling, that we will see the state of Illinois mirroring that April 30th deadline that they're talking about. And, as soon as we have information on that, we'll make sure that it gets posted. And you'll also probably hear something from your local schools.
Okay, we have time for one more question. And this question comes from Corinne in Chicago. Corinne, you're online.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for doing this. I went to a Starbucks yesterday, and I've been frequenting this place, and I noticed that the cashier, some have gloves on, some don't. The person handing your coffee or chai tea doesn't have gloves on. And yesterday I made a comment to the gal, and I said, I just gave you $20. Your money is dirty, and I don't know what it does with this virus, with everybody passing it all around. And her response to me was, well, you know what, we're washing our hands a little more frequently, which is wonderful. But she made the comment that the gloves would be more of a contaminant. I just wanted to get the feeling on that. So what's the rule of thumb? There's no mask. And I know, like you said, they are low on all the PPE equipment, and it's sad, but for those of us who go through, you see one thing one day, one thing another. I just want to know what's what.
Rob, will you field that one, please?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. The answer is there's no settled science on exactly how you do gloves. Technically, if you're going to do gloves properly, if you are touching, for example, an object that is not in the production, so in the cup sleeve, the lid, the coffee itself, if you're touching, for example, money in your example, then you should be changing gloves every time. But as I noted previously, there's a complete shortage of that. So you couldn't begin to afford to do. You couldn't. I don't mean afford money-wise. I mean you can't do that from a lack of supply situation. So they're doing the best they can in that circumstance. The key is a lot more hand washing. Really is probably the best approach, and it sounds like they're doing that. I do know that Starbucks has implemented some additional non-touch procedures as well in their approach. But there's no one good answer to the best way to use gloves. There is some science even that some have also disputed. So it's controversial as to whether or not gloves actually provides any level of assurance at all.
Thanks, Rob. That wraps up the questions that we're able to field here on the call. Again, we'll be answering all calls that are emailed, questions that are emailed and left at the voicemail within the next day. So please, if you hadn't had your question answered, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to give you a shout back and follow up with you. Again, thank you for taking the time to participate in our TeleTownHall this morning. One more time before we let them get back to their busy schedules, I'd like to ask Rob if he's got any final thoughts.
I think the final thought is everyone needs to be assured that the supply chain is safe. There's plenty of food. We really just need people to shop according to their normal patterns. There's no reason to panic in any situation. There's no shortage at all. And that would be a big contribution. And then more importantly, even when everyone goes to the grocery store, practice social distancing. The grocery stores and others are doing their best to reinforce that, but everybody needs to do their part. And Representative Stevens, I appreciate the opportunity to participate on your telemeeting today and your leadership here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jerry and Eric from IDES, again, thank you so much. Is there any final thought that you may want to pass on?
I just wanted to pass on that our website does have a COVID-19 and unemployment benefit frequently asked questions area. Once again, that website is www.ides.illinois.gov. And any questions that you have should be directed to our Claimant Service Center at 1-800-244-5631. And thank you, Representative Stevens, for the opportunity to speak with your constituents.
Thank you so much. And again, folks that are still on the line here, this thing is, as the governor has pointed out, is going to get to a period of time here where it's going to be even more scary than it is today. So be diligent, social distancing, wash your hands, do all the things that the government is telling us to do. And I think that we'll see this thing flatten out, but let's not anticipate that happening for at least the next couple of weeks from some of the modeling that's out there. And again, just take care of your neighbors and make sure you keep an eye on all of our elderly folks out there. Again, if we didn't get to your question, just hang on for another minute. And once the call ends, you'll have an opportunity to leave a voice message at the end of the call. And my office will be able to reach out to you and answer those questions. If you're more comfortable just calling my office, and if you want to take a second here, grab a pen, we'll give you the information right now.
You can contact our office by email at Stevens, STEPHENS, at ilhousegopgop.org. And our office phone number is 773-444-0611. You can also sign up for email alerts at repstevens.com.
Thank you again, everybody, for participating this morning. If we stay diligent, we're all going to get through this thing just fine. And again, just stay on top of things, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.